Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Mike Delisio.
I'm Chris Yee.
Today we're taking a look at the Fox experiment. Now this is intriguing to me for a couple reasons. One, it's a big game from Elizabeth Hargrave. Mm-hmm. Oh, and Jeff Fraser. I don't want to leave him out.
No, definitely not.
I mean, her she's done a lot of different games, and obviously Wingspan being the biggest, and with nature, I don't know, that interested me. The second is, I find this whole Fox experiment really interesting. I never even heard of it before this game. Did you?
No.
It was news to me, yeah.
But the idea that in the 50s, people are experimenting on animals.
Which is a dicey topic, just keep that in mind.
Sure, but they were doing it more along the lines, I think, of breeding them, trying to make foxes something that you can domesticate and have in your house like a dog.
Yeah, they were accentuating friendly traits. Human-friendly traits.
Which I really wish happened, because I would like to own a fox.
Let me tell you what, if you could domesticate foxes, our house would be filled from floor to ceiling with foxes. My wife absolutely loves foxes.
You would never have mice. That would be for sure.
Well, we'd have the cats too, but I think the cats and the fox could coexist, right?
You really think so?
No.
I don't know much about foxes.
Fox are canine, but yeah.
Foxes are not as... And cartoons always make them look sly and stuff. They're like little wolves. You know, they're not particularly friendly.
They also, the sounds they make are not what you would expect from this
I've heard
cute
the
little
song.
animal.
What does the fox say?
Not that.
Anyway, so that's a cool theme, but how does the game play? Well, let's take a look at how it plays, and we'll be right back. The Fox experiment takes place over 5 rounds. At the end of these 5 rounds, players are going to get points for completing experiments, for having the friendliest foxes, and for getting some endgame points from there. What's going to happen each round? At the beginning of a round, there's going to be some selection. In this selection, each player is going to be taking 1 male fox, 1 female fox, and determining their turn order for the next round. So you can pick these things in any order. So perhaps I might want to go here, so I want to go first next round, so I go to that space. But I might not care. I might say I'll just go here, and I get these 2 tokens, a purple and a red token, and I also get one of these wild dice tokens. So I can do that, or I can pick from these. This is a 3-player game that I'm showing you here, so there's 4 foxes, so there's always 1 more fox in the number of players. Each one's going to, these are the initial ones that are in the deck. They're going to provide between 1 to 3 dice. So maybe I've taken this one and this one over the course. So you'll pick one of these 3 things. It goes around the table. When it comes to your turn, if you've already taken a male, you have to either pick turn order or female. And then let's say I pick turn order next time, then the third thing I will do will be picking a female fox. So then we move to breeding. Each player is a player board, and these little tokens that represent different traits can be turned into different points, like 2 of the same, and then you'll put 1 here or up here, and they're going to give you bonuses. So everyone is always, no matter whenever you breed, you're always going to get 1 of these dice, but you have the opportunity to get more. So let's say I had 2 of these dice, and I'm also going to get 1 brown, 2 blue, and 2 pink dice. And I'm going to be able to use those. I'm going to be having 1 puppy, although you can have more than 1 pup if you move down farther on that track as you put out these different tokens. So when you do this, you're going to roll the dice. And you're going to be matching symbols. Again, these match the different traits. So here I have 1 of that. I can put these together to get a pink. This is a wild. I can match it with anything. So now I have 2 pinks. I have 2 blues. And unfortunately, I've rolled this, but I can sneak this in here. So now I have 1, 2, 3 pinks. You can also use tokens, if you want to, as half of a wild to get what you need to get, but you don't get them back at the end of a round. You'll then draw the top card from your own personal fox deck. You're going to give this fox a name, so maybe I'll call this one Speedy. All right, and then I get 2 blues, so I cross off the first 2 blue tokens here. I get 4 pinks, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 brown. I add up all these together, and I have a friendliness rating of 7. So there's a couple things that this matters for. On a future round, this fox is going to go into the area where people can select him to breed. This fox is going to give 1 brown die, 1 blue die, and 2 pink. That's pretty good. Better than these initial foxes. But also for me, he's going to give me tokens. And these are the tokens you use, the blue token and 2 pink tokens. If you ever go past 5 traits, you'll also get victory point tokens for just having really that good of a trait on that, and you'll get extra points at the end of the game. Whoever has the friendliest fox is going to go here, which is going to give you points at the end of the game, although other players will get some tokens as kind of a consolation prize. You're going to be working, you're trying to do different science experiments. You'll start the game with one of these cards randomly, and you can get more of them by moving up on your board here. And players will look at any fox that they bred this turn, and if it meets the minimum required things. So if I have 1 blue and 2 pink, I'll put a fox token on here, and at the end of the game I'll get 2 points. But on a future turn, if I get better, I can move up, so they're always 2, 5. You can get 10 points, but you have to go through all spots. So this is the main way of getting points over the course of the game. You also get points from these. You can get points by going to the end of these tracks on this board, and this track down here lets you work with a sponsor, and if you put one of your foxes here, not only do you get the bonuses here, but this, for example, gives you 2 points for every friendly fox token you have on the board. This one here gives you 1 point for every one of these tokens that you have on this board at the end of the game. So that's some end game scoring. Players also have a chance to get science cards. Going here gives you science cards. Some tokens give you science cards. And these cards can be worth points, but they also allow you to use them that just do different things. When you place your gear token or unlock a patron, you can first swap the supply tile in your space with any other face-up tile on the board. So if I go here, I could be like, I actually want this tile instead. And this one, change a die roll to any face when you're rolling the dice. So after 5 rounds, you'll add up all your points, and whoever has the most points is the winner. There's a little bit more involved where, you know, the different foxes, like I said, these become the parents on future ones. You'll be reinvigorating that line, adding more foxes. Then another one will have a bigger, better fox, hopefully. You can get the friendliness. You can get it really high. I mean, it can go on here up to 20, which is pretty impressive. It could go even farther than that. I think around 20 is about the highest friendliness I've ever seen. Dice, baby. You get to roll so many dice in this game.
Unique diced.
So,
Yeah.
So one thing about this game, I just played this with my daughters, and when we were done, my daughter said, this is one of the most thematic Euros I've ever played. And it's true.
Yeah.
Part of it is dumb little things like name your fox,
Name your pups.
Absolutely.
which
Yeah.
apparently is Sir Terror of the Seven Seas. I was like, stop writing such long names.
Well, look, there is a long, rich history of fox on sailing vessels back in the early days
No, but I
of
mean,
exploration.
you make that fox, and that's your fox.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that helps. And there's a lot. They have a lot of duplicate artwork, but there's a lot of different artwork. There's actually several artists in this game with different styles, but I don't know. I like the way they drew it.
It never feels incongruous. It doesn't feel jarring like, oh, wow, this doesn't fit with this. You're right. I think it has a very nice aesthetic overall.
It evokes that idea of, hey, this is from the 50s. This is an older kind of. You mean almost the illustration style is not like what a modern fox painting looks like. Not that I have gone to the Museum of Fox Paintings too recently.
Let me tell you, if you want to know about fox paintings, I'm your guy.
All right.
So I don't necessarily agree with my daughter. I mean, I think it's loosely themed, but I think the theme is useful and nice and is on top and looks great.
Loosely themed. I think
the breeding is
I'd
strong,
push
I
back.
guess.
The breeding is strong,
Sure, but
and
putting the little
specific traits also
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I feel like it's on the high end of thematic for
Or
Euro
even
games.
little things like you cannot interbreed your
Right,
foxes.
right.
Like all of those things are. It
That's
doesn't.
an optional rule now. It was originally a mandatory rule.
yeah.
Now it's optional. I would play with it, but I don't know that it comes into effect that big of a deal over the course of the game.
I think it encourages sharing of
It
traits
does,
more.
yeah, sure.
And so I think that it makes the game a little bit better. So you can't kind of roll over.
Right.
Yeah. So but the idea though is that because of that. Because the theme, I think, is so well integrated, it makes teaching the game
Yes.
sensible.
Yes.
It's not, here's thematic rules that get in the way of it.
Right. It's not a family weight game by any means, but it's not that much heavier than that for the experience it provides. Like, I think you're right. The thematic integration makes it easier to teach things that would be slightly more obtuse if it wasn't connected thematically.
The game gives really simple options. At the beginning, you draft each turn, and there's only 5 turns. It's not a very long game. I would say it's about an hour and a half, maybe. Is that in the box? Woo, 60. It might be a little longer than that.
Yeah, especially in the higher end.
But you're drafting 3 different things. So you're sitting there thinking, okay, there's only one really good female fox. I should take that first. Even though I want that male fox, I could take one of the other ones. Or turn order, which is a big deal with the bonuses.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm sorry.
Is there a name for that type of mechanism, like attribute-driven drafting or something like that?
I've seen it in other games. I like it a lot.
Yeah. They're where you're drafting either...
But the order that you draft in.
Right.
Everyone will get one of each of the 3 categories of things, but that's a great tense decision, especially when it's not when there's not one obvious pick. You're like, man, I would really be happy with either of these 2 things. Which one do I pick that I think the other one will still be there when it comes back to my turn?
And it works because turn order is so important in this game.
It is, but happily, the game has very little downtime because what I just mentioned is the most. After that, everyone's rolling dice at the same time. They're building it, and to me, I don't know. There's a lot of dice rolling in this game. But there's ways to mitigate the dice with cards and tokens and stuff. But it's so satisfying to put dice together and form a symbol. I don't know why I like that so much.
It really is, and it's even feels satisfying when you're using the tokens to create those, because you can kind of have these little chains. Like you'll think, oh man, I'm only going to be able to get 2 of this. Oh wait a minute, I can get 3 of this trade if I do this. So there's enough little manipulation, like you said, that it's satisfying.
When you get that 1.5 symbol on a die, that's one of the best feelings when you're like, ooh, token. It's now 2.
Right, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so the game also accelerates too.
Yes.
You get to that last turn, you're like, I'm going to build the biggest fox you've ever seen. This is so
It doesn't change their actual size, Tom. It just makes them very friendly.
It's so friendly.
It's the curliest tail I've ever seen.
I've domesticated this fox the size of my living room.
Cuteness overload. But there's good choices. You can't do everything.
Right.
There's a few minor weird things, I thought, with the scoring when you go to those patrons on the side, and they're like, you get points if you have 2 of the same token next to each other. I'm like, oh, well, okay.
Some of them are better than others.
Yeah, they're just that's fine, and I know that needs to be in there.
Right.
And the friendliest fox, sometimes you will run into a game, I think, where you'll be like, I just scored 12. This is unbelievable. I can't believe how good. And Mike's like, 13.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
The other thing that's nice is that oftentimes in games where when there is a simultaneous thing going on, you get this situation where people can kind of do whatever they want, and you have no way to really check if they're playing it correctly. Here, you can see what their dice pool is.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And be like, wait a minute, how did you make this happen? That kind of a thing. So if you're really worried about that, there is pretty much open information. Basically, people, when they're taking their turn, are laying dice out in patterns, and you can see those and see if there's something fishy out there. If you're playing with somebody who, maybe is trying to be sly.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. Sly fox.
If I sly, I'm really bad at it in game
Right.
I sly with my little eye.
I can see some people not loving the dice rolling, because there is sometimes I've rolled and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Now that's mitigated by going, hey, maybe I should have 3 baby foxes. Okay, This is the dump stat fox.
There's 4 fox.
I won't use any tokens on him.
He barely has any social skills, this fox.
You'll be a good breeder someday or whatever.
That's right.
But yeah, and we were just talking before we turned this on the camera that we didn't realize this is not the Kickstarter version.
No.
And this version is fantastic. The components are great.
Yep.
I want the Kickstarter version, but I mean, it's really well done.
You're not going to feel like you're getting a less than shaved off product if you get the retail edition. No, it's great. Also, this is just, maybe this won't be an issue, but I remember when I first heard about this game, which was over a year ago.
Sure.
They were playing up the idea of the dry erase markers, okay? I even heard people referring to it as a type of roll and write game. It is absolutely not. It's not, right? Are you technically rolling dice and writing them on a card? Yes, but in other ways, it feels nothing like a roll and write game.
Oh, yeah. That's just a way to kind of
I'm saying if there are
build a
people that are
fox.
averse to roll and writes, don't let that have anything to do with your checking this game out.
Now,
'cause
if you're
it's not.
averse to writing and erasing and maybe getting some black marker here, you do a lot of that in this game, so
do,
keep
but
that in mind.
it comes off. Yeah.
I think it's also the best. The best physical design for what this game is doing.
I agree. No, it makes sense on a component level, 100%.
Yeah, and so I'm glad it's not a gimmick for the sake of, gotta hop on this train. No, it's really the best way to kind of represent those traits growing, throwing them into the middle of the pool, being able to then draft those generationally.
Right.
I think that's really well done. I think your point, Tom, that some of the those side characters getting those goals, some of that feels a little bit like game.
Yeah.
That's there because it has to be a game and you have to chase these objectives. But there's not too many downsides for me on this one, really.
Right. Yeah.
So what would you rate it?
I'm going to come in, this one's an 8.5 for me. I think that it's just slick, it's smooth. We've kind of addressed a lot of the potential downsides of it already, right? The theme will carry it most of the way, but maybe not in some spots, but really for the most part it does.
Yep.
The simultaneous play, does it lead to sometimes someone playing wrong without realizing? Yes. But also, I'm not too worried about that. You can, when you teach it, just say, hey, let's do this one at a time. For the first round, does everyone understand? Let's do simultaneous from here on out. I want to make a short comparison here to a game that we reviewed a few months back called After Us, right? Because people said that one is a pure multiplayer solitaire kind of experience. This game gives me similar feelings to that, where I'm having so much fun doing my own thing, but there is a really good phase where the stuff that I do goes to the middle of the table. I now care what everyone else at the table has done. It avoids being multiplayer solitaire with that. I think that this is just
It's true. If
great.
you make an amazing fox, like, oh, wow. I'm like, ooh, I'm first in turn order.
Yeah.
I now own your fox.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
And the turn order is a big, interaction point as well.
Exactly, yeah. So I think there's a lot, there's enough there that, this bumps up to an 8.5 for me.
I like Wingspan a lot. It's been in my top, I think, 20 from time to time. I think that this is a better game than Wingspan. I like this even better, and I'm only, because co-designer. I'm giving it a 9. I think it's really, really good. The thematic tie-in, the fact that I don't dread teaching this, I'm sorry, that's a big deal to me. A game that gives you this kind of a crunchy Euro feel, but has the dice rolling excitement, and I'm not worried about teaching it and forgetting and having to read the rule book again every time I've played. That's big to me. I think the theme is great. I think the look of the game is great. I think the mechanics of the game are great. It's like you said, I can't find a whole lot of negatives to it. I would probably not want to play more than 4 players. I know that you can get expansions eventually. I probably would stick at 4 as the max count, but otherwise I think this is just a class act all the way through.
Now, I will mention, Mike mentioned player count. You can get an expansion, make it 5 and 6. If you play with 2 or less, you play with an
Automa
AI type thing, which you always do when you play 1. But 2 also has it in here, and that's to keep the stuff flowing.
Right.
I'm not as interested in that, so for me, it's a 3 to 4 player game.
Okay.
But if you'd like that sort of thing, or just realize that that's in here.
Sure. I'm the person I think that most often is like, let's try the 2-player variant. When did I will try? And I look at this one, I just think, I'll just even play it when there's 3 and 4 people.
Right. Yeah.
So I like this game a lot too. Not as much as Mike. It's an 8.5, but I still really enjoy it. But I wrote my rating down for this game earlier this year because we got this last year. And for full disclosure, we were paid to do a playthrough of this game.
Yes.
We're paid to do a playthrough of a lot of games. But when we did this one, I kept it. We took it to a retreat we were going to, and we kept playing it because it was so much fun.
I taught it
which
to
I
tons of people.
almost never do.
Right.
I don't allow prototypes in our Dice Tower library.
Right.
But I like this one so much, and it was so much fun to get out, and it's so fun to teach. I just taught it to my kids, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to even, here's a few rules, okay?
Right.
Now, let's just breed foxes. That's how breeding works. Okay, this is how you upgrading works. And this is how and you can learn by doing. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, and again, the theme carries it a long way for a lot of people. If you think foxes are cute, 100% get this game.
Right.
Because they get cuter. You make them cuter by science.
Make them friendlier.
It's actually cuter. It's the terminology.
That's true.
So there you go. Friendly
Early
is cute.
foxes.
Anyway, folks, that is the Fox Experiment. I'm Tom Basil.
I'm Mike DeLisio.
I'm Chris Yee.
What does the Fox say? High ratings.